Hello everyone. My name is Antoine Lee. I am a 2020-2021 Burning Man honorarium recipient and artist and architect for the Solar Shrine Project. During Burn Week, which is virtual this year, we are pleased to curate conversations with local grassroots activists, artist performances, house music DJ sets, among other things. It is our pleasure to bring to you today a panel called Building Local Power. Today's participants are Paula Agare, urban designer, Ellie Rommel, economic and development planner, Catherine Darnstart, architect and educator, Glennis Green, artist and activist, and Tiff Beatty, artist and activist. So to tie some things together in terms of what the Solar Shrine and what these people do, the Solar Shrine Project is an Afrofuturistic art installation which explores the spiritual beliefs of ancient Egypt and Nubia. It is seen as a space for community and healing at Burning Man. It will be a place for people to connect to our collective ancestors and brings their art and cosmologies into physical manifestation, thereby shaping the future. The Solar Shrine connects to the type of work that each of these panelists are doing, actively doing, and focusing on how to make Chicago a better place. So I remember when I first was starting to conceive of doing pop-up architecture, I met with Catherine. We first met back in 2017 at an American Institute of Architects event in Wicker Park, where she was showcasing one of her pop-up structures for retail spaces. And I was just blown away about how she was changing the Chicago zoning ordinance and changing the Chicago building code to accommodate this type of this prototype. And so she was really like my inspiration. How I back in 2017 when I got this idea, and then in 2018, we sat down for coffee, we met and we talked, and she gave me some ideas about what to do, and here we are, Solar Shrine Project, and sitting down with these great people. So we want to first start off and just tell us about yourselves. Take a few minutes, just go around. Let's start with you, Paula, and just talk about yourselves and your backgrounds.
Who do we all down, right? That's the question. What are we doing here? Well, Paula Aguirre. I was trained as an architect and urban designer. But I think one thing that I tend to say about my background and career is that I had this really cool opportunity to work in government very young, as a young architect, not have an idea what was I doing in like urban planning in Chihuahua, Mexico, my hometown. But that was very like foundational for thinking of public service and community service. So I think a lot of the work that I do now is inspired. Yes, I love making things, designing things, but it really comes from this place of serving the community, serving the public, doing things that are for um, just more than myself. So I'll just leave it there because I think that that will come around a couple of times. And that's how I get to, one of the other principles that I think often about is collaboration. So I collaborated with these four ladies, and I'm still collaborating with these four ladies in different projects, they're all amazing in different ways. So yeah, Glennis, tell us about you.
I love that handoff. Thank you, Val. Yeah, I'm Glennis Green. I am a sociologist and researcher by training, but I am also a community organizer and artist. I like to view myself as an artivist. So, like the kind of art that I make is very much political and very much about healing and liberation. That's the purpose of art for me, to get free. And so everything that I do, the thread that runs through my life, from content creation and filmmaking to spoken word and various art forms, is really like racial equity and healing and liberation. So my goal in life is to support the building and institutionalization of racial equity through both research and the combination of art, the art forces and worlds coming together. So yeah, it's very much my pleasure to be in good company and to be doing this work here from the south side of Chicago. So, and with beautiful people like my girl next to me. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Social distance.
But with
Can't
that,
help
I'll roll it over
Yeah.
to my girl Tiff. That's a little bit about me.
All right. I'm Tiff Beatty. I am also known as a pyro poet. And that name really just comes from spoken word community. So that was a name that was given to me by another poet named Nikki G. And there's a variety of different poets that I sort of have grown to become family with, I guess you could say. So poetry was sort of my way into the Chicago community and the Chicago activist and organizing scene. I'm originally from Tacoma, Washington, and I think my sort of background of being in the church and growing up as a church kid sort of influenced everything Paula was saying about service is definitely in me. It's been trained in me. My mom is still in ministry. But I think, over time, I've sort of taken that energy from serving folks through religion to serving folks through my art and through the gifts of culture and also institutional work. I think that's another thing that people don't really think about as religion and Christianity and other forms of practice as institutions. And so, I really think about that institutional perspective a lot. I also went to a Christian school, which really caused me to reflect on institutions and institutional structures and thinking about my work through that lens. So I really get into this metaphor of building and burning. So at the same time that we are building the world that we want to live in, we're also not afraid to burn down everything that we want to leave behind that doesn't work in this moment and that we don't want in our future. It's okay to go through that process, and it's actually very illuminating and rejuvenating to just embrace that metaphor of building and burning. So that's a little bit about me.
Burning Man right there.
Yeah, bringing that burn. I'm sure we'll talk more about that energy. But yeah, that's me. So.
Awesome.
And we also realize, like, when you burn, you're making the ground more fertile for something else to grow.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's part of the life cycle. So I'm Catherine Darnstead, an architect here in Chicago, and one of the things that I'm fortunate to work with everyone here and meet new people and hopefully work with them in the future. But looking at this through the lens of the field of architecture is a field where I'm a minority in that field, but there's people who design for the world where I'm a majority, and there's not the equity there to begin with. And so when you're not seeing it in your own profession, how do you start to create the access not only to the profession, but then the access of the profession to everyone else, right? Because the built environment is kind of thought of as a given some places, like that you get what you get, and it's not thought of as an area where you can have input. And so much of the practice of my firm, Latent Design, has been to create access through the built environment using design as that tool. And so that's how I've been fortunate. When you saw on some of the small scale projects, this idea of like, well, if we want to make a tiny pop up for all the small businesses in Chicago that are in the gray economy, which is half of all of the businesses, I didn't know it was going to take 6 different departments and 3 different ordinances, but that's like the opacity of how the built environment comes to be. And then, scale that up to even larger projects. How does your neighborhood get here? And like, how does a school get here? Or how does a school get vacant? Those are all kind of the ways of using design as a tool for access. And I think, I'll kick it over to Elle because she has other ways that she uses tech and policy for access.
Yeah, hi, I'm Elle Ramel. I'm an urban planner, but I come from the policy side and kind of using technology to enable engagement in community spaces. I co-founded City Open Workshop with Paul over there, one of our collaborations. But I have a vision in the world that there are so many opaque rules and regulations at the, I guess, like the seat of power in government, etc., where I would love to just keep my work translating that, so every community individual would be able to have the same type of visions and execution that like maybe a big developer or a big government official can. So a lot of what we do at City Open is, let's say you want a community garden or you want a mural in your on a wall, like these beautiful ones back here. You as someone in your neighborhood should be able to do that as easily as someone with money and power. So I think for me it's about, I would like to help enable artists and activists, and I usually do that by A, bothering people, or B, making friends with people. So that's kind of my work here, and just trying to help be that capacity builder for Chicago.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So those are great stories.
Mhm.
It's amazing. Um, so Chicago is a very complex place. A lot of history and things like that. I want to know, like, I want you all to give some Chicago context as a unique incubator for grassroots initiatives,
Mhm.
and what makes the city relevant on the global stage.
No pressure. Is it
It's like break
Chicago's.
it down into.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can kick it off because I mean, many of us are imports to Chicago, so I think it's gonna be fun to see, to hear that. But I think often around, coming to Chicago as an architect or someone that thinks about architecture, for me is like, whoa, the city is beautiful. But once you get out of this small bubble called
Mhm.
central area or downtown, you start seeing things are different and contrasting. And I started asking questions like why. I had an opportunity to work at the Arts Incubator, in Washington Park, where things are like very, very different from where I used to live in downtown. So that contrast. So Chicago, both like a place of ambition. I feel like when you arrive to the city, you like feel it, smell it. In terms of ambition, the city has strong ambitions, but not everyone has had access to
Mhm.
resources. So one of the projects that I started a couple of years ago is around, buildings like this one, a closed school in the south side of Chicago, in the heart of a neighborhood that has like incredible history, yet hasn't seen the investment and love and care, that we would see in other places. So some of the questions that I started posing was, buildings are changing all the time. Places transform the identity. It's not a matter of if they're going to change, but like how we want to make the change and how, as community, we come together to do that. So I've been just, using school grounds as a ground for experimentation and inviting people to come and do their own ways of activation, but also reclaiming a lot of the spaces that are outdoors, like this one, right? Like parking lots. What else can a parking lot do that
Mhm.
is not just parking,
Yeah. Yeah.
cars? So we've, imagined it as a plaza, as an esplanade, as a living room now, so it doesn't take, much only that, imagining and that capacity of imagining that we all have, but we tend to lose while while we do our jobs as adults. But yeah, I think, Chicago for me has been this great place of contrast and contradiction, and I think in the tension of those things, very beautiful things emerge. And when you find friends that you can co-conspirate with, it just becomes more and more fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. I think for me, it's like the resilience of the city and the people in the city. Transplants or not, I think this city births and breeds a certain type of human,
Mhm.
and and attracts a certain type of person. And I think we service, the idea of service came up earlier. So you know inherent and also in my background is servant leadership as well. And so I always think of my role in the world as always like perpetually giving back to a space, and that's how I show up, and that's how I find that a lot of people show up. So if there's something that's missing, a need or a gap, if people are not sitting around waiting for that to happen, they're just moving into action to create something where there wasn't, which I think really makes Chicago a very unique and special place, because people want to build and in solidarity and unity with one another. And I really think about the work that we did this summer, Paul and I, after the initial uprising in May, like there were our supply chain shut down
Mhm.
completely on the south
Mhm.
side of Chicago. In this neighborhood, we didn't have anything, and so part of us, in community with one another, with the organizing work we did of let's open a distribution site,
Mhm.
a hub for people to just come and get food, because we know that that's what we need, that's what they
Mhm.
need, so we're meeting this immediate need. And we just got an overwhelming amount of support and organizers, and so we leveraged our own networks, and then our networks leveraged their networks, and soon we had this huge distribution site flowing where we thought we have more than enough. even though it seems like we don't have anything, we are living in the mindset of abundance. And with abundance, we can stretch out even more. So then we tapped other communities on the south side, and we said, we instead of just feeding Bronzeville where we are, we're going to try to feed the entire south side of Chicago. And so we're going to set up distro hubs and pop-up sites on the south side of Chicago with our partners who we know are running sites in Inglewood or running sites over in South Shore, Auburn, Gresham, or back of the yards, and allow those to be hubs for their communities as well. And I think everybody was really on board with that, because that's the servant leadership mindset that they have of, we are, even though there's nothing here, we live in a mindset of abundance, and we are going to make sure that we provide. We got us, right? And I think that that's something that's very special, that really is very distinct to, and sure, maybe they're doing all of these things other places, but I just feel like there's a way in which we're doing it in Chicago that allows us to be on a path towards sustainability in such a way that you it's undeniable. You really have to shine a light on it, and it doesn't get noticed, and where none of us are sitting around pandering or asking for attention. But I do think more of the world needs to see that, for sure.
Well, we have that social justice history too. I mean, the
Absolutely.
Panthers were feeding and educating in their neighborhoods, and you know, Black and brown communities developed a sharing economy before Silicon Valley ever made an app for it. You know,
Yep.
so I think that's what
Yes.
we're building
Yep.
on there, and it's maybe it's an alignment also and an awareness of saying like we don't need these outside influences in some ways. It's
Yeah.
like, here, we'll highlight how this all breaks down, but we are not going to break down because of it.
Yeah,
And I think that's the
absolutely.
strength that everyone ties into. And then now, as we could have a wider network and have these networks that could tie in, and we could bring West Side, you know, produce to the South Side and like make a connection that way through the food distribution, and then bring more people in. It's kind of wild in that way, and just see that grow, and then say, what's the lesson to learn, but what's the economy to learn? Because it's about, you know, I think there's so much thought of when you're not looking at Black and brown neighborhoods, that you're right. It's about not about abundance, it's about a lack of something, and you're like, that's you have to shift your mindset.
Yeah, you have
said
to.
it's absolutely right, saying like, no, we're changing the narrative by changing how you describe us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the motto of the Southside Food Distribution
Yeah.
Network this summer. That is, okay, it's cool. Like, whatever we got, we can give it out. And even when we shifted gears, where we were no longer a pantry, so to speak, we were just doing distribution, we had the mindset of like, we're kind of close to the public, but we're not close to the public. If somebody comes up, they're getting food. Period. Give them the bags, and we'll reorganize, and we'll tell our sites like, you get what we'll be able to send out, what we can give you, but we're turning nobody away. And that's, we believe that we would get more in as a result of doing that. So that's so real.
I also think it's important, as we like think about local power in Chicago. It is a pride in neighborhoods. But one thing I think is important about what you said about the Southside Food Distribution Network is making sure that like a lesson or a power source in one neighborhood, like the opportunities can be almost open sourced to different places, right? Like if there's a distribution network in Bronzeville, like that can be replicated very quickly on Gresham. And I don't think our communities in Chicago get credit for that. I also think another thing that happens is this like strange, thinking about the global side, I came from government, and there's a stupid mashed up narrative of like, we're gonna just call like 2/3 of our city the South Side. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's like, okay, I guess, but it's like 50 neighborhoods, so it's a little bit clumsy for me. Like you have to think it's 2/3 of our city.
Coded.
Right.
It is wild.
So for me, like my work is bringing more nuance to that, like pushing out more narrative. I pretty much bother World Vision Chicago every like month about like, just do a campaign where you like blow up a neighborhood globally.
Yeah.
A new one, just do it. You know, because I think that's it gets a little tired, right? Like we all start to know the differences, but I think more of the world can know those like nuances and do about other cities.
Yeah. That's right.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, it's a lot of history, like you said, the Black Panthers, and you know, a lot of history in terms of civil rights and things like that. Dr. King, Martin, and Cicero, you know, things like that. So, switching back to yourselves, I'd like to know, you know, what challenges have you faced in your endeavors to realize your goals? Each of you. tip of starting here.
Right. I'm still thinking about Chicago. Sorry, y'all. It takes me a minute to like process, especially
You
when
gotta
I'm
burn that. You
listening.
gotta burn that down.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm just really appreciating listening. I am definitely a listener and a processor, but I will speak up. So challenges, I guess that would be one. I mean, I'm definitely a processor, so everything you all were saying about rapid response, that's not me. Like, I can't rapid response. Something about me does not rapid response. But that's okay. So I'm figuring out what that means and what I'm supposed to be doing in that moment of everybody rapid response. And a lot of times that is me just holding down the fort, just being me and just being steady and, checking in with folks here and there if they need, that love and care that we all sometimes forget to give ourselves, and doing that also within myself and my home. My partner is also a workaholic, and so checking in, and just being rooted. I talked earlier about the spoken word family. I haven't been performing on the scene for years, but I still have my poetry mom who calls me, and it's that same energy to see if I need anything to eat. And so just maintaining, I think why I got into this was to kind of get back to those days of being in church and feeling like at home in a spiritual community. But coming to Chicago and finding that version of myself here in this pyro poet character who could transform on stage and just sort of like flip that switch. And so I think the process of just owning, this is just all of us developing into our full selves. Actualization is just owning who I really am and just sort of holding on to that in these moments of disruption. My burning things down looks a little bit different. It is a slow, steady, brick by brick sort of tear it down process. But it still eventually comes down, and we're also building at the same time. And so that's one of the things that I like to continue to remind myself is it's all important. So yeah, that's
I was raised in an immigrant. My father's an immigrant household, and I think one thing I have tried to work on in my career is I grew up in a very assimilationist household. My father got where he is because my family really prided us being as American as possible, and I've watched some of those perception of like if you just fit in and stay quiet, like completely break down in my adult life of seeing some of my friends who like no matter how I don't know, like proper they are, they're still getting racism and prejudice and systemic bias. So for me, I'm always trying to balance like that need to be in like the majority structure and like trying to be more vocal about like ideas I have and radical about like things I think and being more bold about like saying them. I also have balance it right. Like I'm here to like whisper to people who are a little bit more on the like blow shit up side of the world and then talk. But I think for me, it's always like being more coherent about like if something is wrong, like saying it more. So I think that's something that I work on, and I think I'm getting louder. I hope they'll tell me, but yeah. So I think that's been an interesting part of my like career.
Awesome.
So I think your question was not necessarily weaknesses, but what are barriers in a way? Challenges and barriers. And I think part of the challenges is constantly having the strength, right, to keep doing what you're doing. And I think that manifests itself in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's the mental strength and the fortitude to keep like pushing at like take another brick down, do or push through a policy or speak up, right? Because that's a self toll that starts to happen, and then there's like just the physical strength that comes with, because usually the mental breaks you down, breaks your body down, like, and then you just don't realize that. So I think I'm a person that is impatient and will do something to exhaustion, and then that doesn't do you any good because you need like a year and a half to recuperate, and then like takes you offline completely. So I think what would have been helpful, I think in the first 10 years of my company is 10 years old this year, and so I think in the first 10 years what would have been really helpful would have been to like know that that's actually a fault and know that that doesn't help you because you like want to push and produce, and there's like a value in like that work, that overwork structure. Absolutely. That actually is completely flawed just in our general like US capitalist sense that you don't realize until it like really tears you down. And so I think knowing now the barrier is still allowing myself to take that time and to also acknowledge when other people need to take that time, because then there's like that small little prejudice you have. You're like, you're having a baby, you're not going to get back to work immediately.
Here
Come
I am.
on, like those little things, like
Yeah.
you get it because it gets in your head, and then you
Yeah.
hold it against other people, and you
Yeah.
don't really realize you have that bias. And I think women of color are already pushing themselves so much more, and then if we're just like having that little nag in the back of our head of saying like, well, why aren't you doing more? We should be like, why you're not doing more, because you need to take more time for yourself. Like you have to remind yourself on that, because I think sometimes we hurt ourselves and each other without even realizing it, because we're all like pushing really hard, and
Yep.
and I think we're pushing harder than a lot of other people sometimes. But we have to like we have to make the space for each other then too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you
Absolutely.
for that. It's like,
Self-care, self-preservation.
yes.
It's like no one
Yes.
teaches you how important that is.
Yeah.
No, I like you need to have that in
Yeah.
business school. You need to have that in all schools.
And that it's a
School.
political act. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing, at least, is like, I think about Audre Lorde is another one of my
Same.
poetic inspirations, and going through, she survived cancer, and just the fact that she had to really rely on herself to do the research, to go to other
Yeah.
countries, to and to build communities of women around her, because the Western medical system was just not built for her, and it's not it's not built, like, none of these systems are built for us.
Yeah,
And so it does become a political act, just taking care of yourself and
Yeah.
just resisting that grind culture, and it gets inside of you. I think it was programmed.
Yeah.
So it's that deprogramming.
Yeah.
It's work. Yeah.
It like falls into even what else was saying. Like, it's just a different way that we're always trying to assimilate into some other culture that isn't built for us. Yeah.
Glennis, what about yourself? What about some of your challenges?
Yeah, I think a big challenge is just being having as big of a personality as I have, and being very intentional as I am, having to work within institutions and spaces that aren't always conducive of that. And so sometimes it feels like um, I know I need to be there and I should be there for myself and other people, but sometimes it feels like I'm working against my own humanity, and that's it eats away at me. It's a very big challenge. I also am somebody who I'm very vocal. I'm often of the unpopular opinion. I'm very critical. In very important and meaningful ways, but that's not something that others can always be very receptive to. And so I always try to strike this balance between, like, okay, well, how much is too much, or am I sacrificing pieces of myself? And I think when I was a little younger, I did do a lot at the expense of myself, and now I'm at a point of just like, well, this is kind of how it is, take it or leave it. This is my leadership style, and this is what it takes to be transformative. So, like, if that means that I'm not working in your space, then okay, bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like, and so, but I still think that still is very challenging, because I know that there are some. I think that you can make change from both inside and outside of the system, and you have to have people in and outside. And I see myself being able to navigate. I can navigate both spaces very well, and so I think that that's the biggest challenge, if on my journey to liberation and institutionalizing equity. But I can't abandon the space altogether, because then I can't meet the goal that needs to be met. And so, but I do find that being one of my bigger kind of existential life challenges, of how do I best move in a way that can be conducive to what we're building, but also doesn't deprive me of my own uh, womanhood, my own black womanhood, my own queer womanhood. It's tough. I think I'm still navigating through it. I think it's something I'm still navigating through it. But I'm happy with where I am. I'm comfortable with where I am.
Good.
Yeah.
Paula?
Uh, I mean, a lot of what you all have mentioned resonates in a way. I guess for me, it's like incredibly like optimistic with capacity. I always overestimate. I'm gonna have all the energy, y'all. And then like 2 days later, just going back to self care and like recognizing. So
There should be
I
a hashtag like Paula planking.
Yeah.
She ran out of energy.
I know. Yeah, that has happened. But like, I think one of the ways that I've been reflecting that I organically dealt with that is, learning how to when to lead and when to support. And when I started Borderless in 2016, it was it was an idea that I had. Like, I don't know, but I found really kind of fun and energizing just to like, hey, let's work on this together. And one of the first projects was City Open. I had no idea what we're doing. I don't know if we now have an idea what we're doing. But what is really cool is that you just create the opportunities and the spaces to stay connected with people that energize you. And I feel for me that's often what whether the work is impactful for others, it's definitely impactful for us. And that for me, you know, it's a little bit of like just overcoming that barrier of exhaustion and not knowing, not having clarity, like this idea of uncertainty. I think more and more I'm more comfortable with uncertainty. Like I create spaces that I don't know how they're gonna shape, or like, yeah,
Become organic.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I feel more and more comfortable. Like I'm not responsible of like that shaping. Like if we all come together, like something interesting is gonna emerge out of that. Of course, I know how to frame things, and some things better than others, but I feel like getting more and more comfortable with sharing that responsibility with others has been something that I had to overcome because I I tend to be like very control freak sometimes with things that I was trained in architecture. That's what that's what we're trained to do. It needs to be like this. It is like the boxes, the line weight, like everything is to fall in place. So I feel like overcoming that mindset and practicing more in like the world of planning and thinking of collaborative work. It's work in progress. I mean, sometimes it's funny, like people that see me like from the outside, it's like, you seem to have to know what you're doing. I'm like, you have no idea. I'm just literally like, I have like 10% of clarity, 90% is like, but it's about like the confidence, right, that you develop over time.
But I wish people knew that like people at corporations and like people that
They
are
don't
like
know
in charge.
either.
I have no
Yeah.
idea. I just wish they knew that like I'll go into boardrooms and people will be like, did anyone make a slide? Like it's like I wish people on the ground knew how hot mess it was. Like that
Oh
would
my
all be
gosh.
okay.
Oh yeah.
It might be worse. Like it might
It
be
is.
better.
Yeah.
We all just were like, we're all 90%.
Right.
Yeah,
Unsure.
it's so real.
Right.
That's so real.
But
And
there's this
Nobody's got
paradigm,
it
right?
figured
Like
out.
that things
Nobody knows.
are, that somehow you have to come to a place with certain confidence.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of us were not trained in that kind of paradigm. And like building that on your own and for yourself, like it's a completely different like journey.
Yeah.
So once you realize like we have the same power and ability, and like once you get into that moment of realization, that changes, right? Like I don't care if you want to work with me or not. Like this is what I'm about.
exactly.
And like you own that decision and you own that space, and I don't know, I feel like it came with time. And like for some folks that I worked in the past, is like they were trained that way. Like their upbringing was telling them, reinforcing and like affirming that they had that capacity. It didn't happen in my context. So I enjoy being in this space where other women are just part of that realization and confidence and strength.
I love that you say that, because it's really comes down to like own that or be owned by that, right? And for me, it very much is, we're very much in alignment of that. I've made a conscious decision to own that, and to be confident and to be very resolute and indignant in that, because I have been at those tables. I have had the privilege of being able to have a seat at certain tables where I'm able to see, wait a minute, wait a whole minute. I'm arriving from the place that I've arrived from, which was nothing, with more than all of these people who've had a seat at a table for a very long time. And so, when I see that, I'm like, oh, the village has got to come. the village has. They have, like, we got to give them that same confidence. We have to give them same tools, because they already have what it takes to own their own.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. That's
and
what it
so I love that you said that. And so it becomes less about like people liking you or wanting to work with you, and more about, I'm just here to help build a space. Do whatever you want with it, right? Like, create a platform. So
I always say
I
it's
love
like
that.
you're a little snowball that's rolling very slowly and yelling what you're doing, and if people want to like come be part of it
And roll with you.
like, I'm still I'm
Right.
doing it very slowly.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna surprise you, but I will keep
Just keep going.
Yeah.
You
Making
just
sure
have to
you're
keep
aware.
going.
Right,
Don't
right.
yell at
like,
it.
I told you I was doing it.
Yeah.
I'm rolling.
I think giving that power to the people is what's most important, and so that they know that that is accessible, that is an attainable thing. Yeah, because you're right. Nobody knows what they're doing.
That gives me confidence.
They don't. They don't know what they're doing. Yeah.
You got another question?
So those are very good insight about things. And, the challenges and the confidence, and you think that people have it together who are heads of companies and corporations and leaders and politicians, but they don't know what's really going on a lot of times as well. So if you all could go back in time, what would be the one thing that you would do differently?
Nothing.
I was gonna say, I knew that was coming.
What about you? You can go back in time.
I'm kind of in agreement with Glenn.
Okay.
You know, I'm sorry. You know,
We wouldn't be here.
like outside, I might have like
that
had
butterfly
my first kiss
effect,
with some
right?
other
We'd be
kid,
so-
but like I like where I'm at right now, and
Yeah.
I think this is kind of like this is the work that I want to do. I don't know a different way that you could have gotten to it.
Yeah.
But I would definitely not kiss Tommy Moss. Like that, like definitely. That would probably be one thing I change, but not.
It's scary, right? Because I don't want a path that would not have me meet Paul. Like, so
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't mess with
Right.
my paths.
We
Yeah.
don't
Butterfly
know. We don't want to mess with the timeline.
Right.
Exactly.
You almost have to go through. Not that you want to go back and go through all of the miserable things you had to go through
my
to get
20s
here.
just throw
But
them
you,
away if I could, but-
right.
But I know I needed them.
No,
you know?
needed to go through that in order to
Yeah.
get to where you are. You had to go through the fire. So I say nothing.
Yeah.
I'm right where the universe wanted me to be.
The other way to think about it is, I don't wish I would have made things different, but like I wonder, architecture came to me as a pathway because in the town that I grew up, there weren't a lot of options. Like I feel like in many communities, like you're trained with the mindset that you have to make a living at some point. So now that I, hang out with a lot of artists and like understand that art is it's a career, it's a way of living and also providing of income. Like I wonder if I knew that at the point that I was making these choices, that would have been a pathway that I would have, pursued. But because I didn't know better, there wasn't an option. There wasn't really the opportunity to pursue training, in a city like Chihuahua. There's a bazaar, all school, that's it. But now that I know all these possibilities, right, of practice and the intersection of things, I'm like, oh, interesting. But having said that, like everything that I learned from architecture was like so foundational for the way that I work.
So I'm laughing because my other path, I'm laughing. So I double majored in theater direction. So one thing is I didn't grow up with a very steady like family like house income. Like we didn't have a lot. Like there was nothing to support me, and so I remember marching up to my mom when I was 12 and being like, I don't think I'm gonna be a waiter. Like I know if you want to be in theater, you gotta be a waiter. So, but I remember being 30 and slamming my plate down at Thanksgiving and be like, if I was a waiter, I would have a lot more free time because my first job has no homework, and all my like right now experience is this thing where I do a full-time job and then I do like creative and artistic things.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm laughing at is like, I'm thinking because I am like gonna have a baby is like I would want to support my children and like just try, like I wanted to produce and direct, like I'm gonna like just go do that for 2 years, like just go try it because it is something where like I did that. I don't remember college, I just remember theater. So I think like I get to be sneaky because a lot of our work is like still creative and collaborative. But that is the other path where I was like, that would have been a very interesting probably doing the same themes in a different arena. But I do remember this whole like waiter thing being a like. I'm like, man, I probably would be a lot more free to do my passion projects
Yeah.
if I didn't have like work.
That's real.
So yeah, so I'm
Real.
laughing. I'm like, you and I
It
were
is
this
real.
close to like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it comes to like what opportunities
Yeah.
are given to who, right, and when, in
Or
what
the
moments.
perception of how accessible it is. You and I maybe like.
And so I definitely would have owned that, accepted it. If I could have looked back at young Tiff, I would have been like, it's okay. You are who you are. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be better than fine. And just had a little bit more confidence in my younger days to just be fully express myself. It's definitely something that came later in life, and I'm still finding it. And as you were talking about owning and being at the table, and my first poetry workshop that I ever taught. And I still like go back to it. It was called Finding Your Voice, and it was all about just reading someone else's poem until like you could read it out loud and connect to it in some way. Because I really do think that's the power of all art, is we can all engage. Like we all sing in the shower, we all bob our heads to beats. Like we're all participating and creating all the time. And so just thinking about that as like a way to help other people to like see themselves as like their voice matters, their voice is their own, and it is powerful. And to just start with that very like literal voice to like voice in politics, voice in the classroom, voice in work, and to just take that, and it's multiplied since I've done things in other countries, and taken that to really take it, especially with women's empowerment. It's in black and brown women. I went to Nicaragua, went to Belize, and I taught this workshop, and it was so just across the board. I was like, all of us need this. We all have the same issues. We all come, we're all in the same world that deals with the same, voice in our heads that tells us like we have to conform, we have to assimilate, or we have to, you know, play our roles, rather than like that voice inside that we really know who we are and what we're supposed to do. So,
Yeah.
Pretty powerful.
yeah.
That is.
Wow, for each one of you all.
And I just want to say to that, like, I think in thinking about that, even I'm definitely sticking with the nothing, but I do I spent too much time trying to fit into somebody else's box for me, and that's one thing that I wish that I would not have done, or would have known what I know now, to like kick the box over much sooner.
Right.
I think the flip side of that is it made the burn inside of me burn a little harder. So I just set the box on fire, and like, okay, I'm here.
Blow it up. Yeah.
What box? But I do in reflecting on that in hindsight of like, wow, why did I spend that much time thinking that other people had it figured out, and not trusting myself enough, right? And I still have to remind myself, even though I do trust myself, and the piece that I'll be performing tonight is like a love letter to my future self, and that it starts with trust yourself always, right? So I appreciate you saying that.
I love letters.
Yeah.
Um,
Me too.
So, I want to ask another question. What are the two things that are most important to share with the audience about how to respond to change?
Be like water if you can. Just flow with it. I mean, when you said change, like I just automatically got a vision of a river. And I mean, I've been thinking about fire a lot lately because of this event, obviously, but the river came to mind. Like to me, when it comes to change, at least, like I'm also sort of also reflecting on. I'm an earth sign. I have no water in my zodiac that I'm aware of. So just thinking of like the imagery, like that's what I need more of in my life. Is just like flow, and it you hit a barrier and you just sort of like flow around it, or if something in the water sort of changes, the water is just so flexible. To me, it just, I like that imagery.
I think my only contribution to that would be, I feel like something that I realize is the value of just doing things, like making things happen, regardless of they're gonna work. I don't know, maybe,
Yeah.
perhaps. Are they right? Who knows? Depending who's looking at them. So, like not being afraid of just trying things, because certainty is this concept that is so ingrained. Like, why things to be certain? Like, can we take risks? Take more risks?
And be comfortable
And
with
feel
risk.
comfortable. Yeah, comfortable with risk.
And
Like,
comfortable with it being wrong.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to use the word failure because I don't think, like, very few things I consider that, or I consider failures. It's more like, oh, you try something and it didn't come as you thought it would be. But yeah, just being comfortable with risk taking and like being letting things, sometimes it's this like accidental discovery, right? Like you were in this path, but then like it turned into this one. So like just embracing that.
Especially with some of us that are coming from architecture and urban planning, there could be much more on iteration and prototyping. I think there's a very strange trend in our fields of like you draw a building and then you like ask for feedback. That's really messed up because like at what point it's like almost too late. Like there's dollars for bricks. Like before the bricks, like Paula's sent me some amazing examples. Like, can you make it in cardboard? Could you make it in chalk? Like, could you please just try it before its permanence? Because I think I want people to be able to be more comfortable with change. Right now there's more like resistance against these big projects, but it's like if we try a bunch of things, people would be a little bit more like, yeah, come back in 6 months and I'll tell you that park, it needs more swing sets.
But the other window that opens is like, it's like this wiki ideas, right? Like,
Yeah.
because not everything is resolved. There's opportunities for other people to bring their knowledge.
Like I would like if they announce a new park that every 3 months, like they could change a bit of the park that doesn't work. But right now it's like it's this permanent. And so I think if we embrace more mini changes, I think that would be great. Just in a lot of things in design.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have dynamic people. We don't have a dynamic built environment that allows for that to happen in any way. Yeah.
Except overtime.
Yeah.
Which changes every time I'm here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And I would just say, don't wait.
Don't wait.
You know, if there's something if there's a need, see where you fit in and move the needle on that. I think sometimes we want to take a bigger chunk out of the pie and we feel like, oh, this is so unattainable. How might we do this, right? So I think just thinking about the Southside Food Distribution Network, like if we had started from this place of like, oh my gosh, like the whole Southside doesn't have any supply chains, how are we going to do this? It was just like, look, you in the third ward, I'm in the fourth ward, we in Bronzeville, let's feed Bronzeville, right? And then from that it bubbled up to something bigger, and so just this idea of we want to meet the need where we are, and then it can build into something much more, much bigger, and we didn't even understand or see the magnitude of it.
And
we had to step back
like,
from it.
You didn't have to understand how it all worked to start.
No.
Because what I find very scary is like, okay, well, we're going to name it.
Right.
It's going to have a website. Like, just, like, no one starts.
No. We just,
It's
that was
paralyzing.
it.
It's very paralyzing for a lot of people, and that's the part I work very hard to make people comfortable with. Just start anywhere. Don't overthink it. Of course, you have to have a plan, right? Like, but then don't overthink it. Just be ready to start anywhere, and then the pieces will fall into place.
They will fall in place. This started at Costco.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, after we were cleaning up on that Monday, cleaning up our neighborhood, we were taking orders. Like, post on Instagram, tell us where you need cleanup and we'll come to your neighborhood, we'll come to your block and clean it up. And then at the end of the day, I was like, man, I'm hungry. I was like, I don't have any food. I don't like this grocery store. And Dennis, Paula's partner, was like, well, like, we can go to Costco. I was like, I don't have a Costco card. And he was like, I'm going to get one. I'm like, cool. So we're gonna go to Costco. So we go to Costco, and Paula pulls up with a cart and was like, so I got some bread, I got some, juices, like, we should do something with all of this. And I was like, yeah, we should start a food distribution policy. Like, literally in the aisle of Costco. And it was like, all right, let's meet back up on this day. Let's talk about how we're going to, this is just a cart full of food. Well, who are we going to be with this cart full of food? So, but by the end of that week, we rolled out 400 packages to street teams, Lefty, through Activists, our partner Activists. We got 400 bags out on the street within a couple of days. And we were like, okay, what's next, right? And so
Can't just do it
don't
once.
wait,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
but
I
it's
think that's
it
it.
started
Yeah,
with that.
that's a really good point. Like the consistency, right,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
It's
making
consistency.
and convening, and like Gian makes fun of me because when we started doing the map of Chicago over there, it was like me and two other people, and like not having any idea how we do it,
Yeah.
or yeah. And then 3 4 years later, like I don't even have to do anything. I
Yeah.
was just like, there's a plane, there's a surface, like, and kids just like organize themselves with very little guidance.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy to see that, and like people
Yeah.
organizing their own events here
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
they understand now the place is available and it's like flexible and it's
Mhm.
adaptable and it's like has the capacity to generate all these things. I'm sure it was similar with like Arts as Bonfire.
Yeah.
Like probably the first one was
Yep.
you and your
Yep.
best friend, and
Yeah, around
like
the bonfire
practicing.
pit. Yeah.
Similar with Boombox,
Yep.
it's just this idea of like just keep doing and
Yeah.
and like this spaces that are generative. City Open was like,
Yeah, people have to trust you're going to be
Yeah.
there. You don't have to do all the work.
Yeah.
But they have to trust that you didn't just think this thing up and then wander off. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
The
you are that
consistency.
you are the
Right.
consistent. But like even like not
or
even I
your
won't say
organization. Because I think also, like, the problem is sometimes people depend on people. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we are all burning out because everyone just calls us now. They're like,
Yeah.
so...
You'd have to talk to
What y'all
Paula.
doing,
You have
right?
to talk to
I
Glenn.
do,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you're like,
Right,
I
right.
gotta like develop my referral network. Like,
Yeah,
these
yeah.
I can't. Have you met?
Right.
Next person
Everybody
over
else.
here.
It has to be sustainable. Yeah.
But I think one piece that's missing. I know you're ready to go to the next question, Antoine. But like, I think the piece that we also didn't mention is these skills. We didn't go look in a book and say, okay, how do we do? Which is great. You can do that. Not we are all here very educated, right? So like, I just mean like, it really came from the core of
Mhm.
where our skills lie, right? The what came easy. So I think the most beautiful thing is for the Southside Food Distribution Network, our skills complement one another. Like every bit about Paula being an architect, every bit about me being a researcher. Like from jump, I'm thinking we need to collect data, numbers, inventory. Like that's from jump. So like whereas it allows us to be like much more organized. Same thing with Paula of like design. All right, let's get these flyers out. All of these different things. So it actually allowed us to be able to expand reach really quickly and for other people to come into the fold, for them to see themselves in it because we were able to lay a roadmap based on the skills that we just had.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything super special.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, people see it special, but for us, it was just like this
I
is
got a Costco card.
Right.
Yeah.
You got a Costco card now
Yeah.
in the cart.
Yeah.
We got a car. Who's delivering these groceries, right?
Yeah.
And
People understand how many
That's
boring
big.
things you have to be consistent on.
Yeah.
Like, people are always like, wow. You're like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's spreadsheets. And
Right.
credit card payments.
right, we're just we're just counting in a
Texting
room,
people
organizing
back.
things. Right.
Yeah.
We're going to stores. Hey, can you donate some bags to
but
us?
then and then it gets me to the point of like, how do we tell a story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We still
That's
we're
what I-
thinking about
Yeah.
that.
No, because we do like very powerful like visuals
Yeah.
and like how do you tell a story in a way that's the other like nut to crack, right? Like how do you invite other people to care about things? So like how do you tell the story of the work that you're doing?
Yeah.
I think that's super relevant.
You get more community buy-in.
Yeah.
It's another form of access too,
Correct.
right? Of
Access.
accessing to
Narrative
understand
shaping.
how that
Yeah.
process happened, right?
Yeah, and writing our own history, right?
Yeah.
Like, do we have to write? Nobody's
Yeah.
going to write this history of
Yeah.
all the things that
We're all
happen at Overton.
storytellers,
You
yeah.
want to
Right,
change the
we are
story, gotta change
storytellers.
the
We have to
storyteller.
create
Yep.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Tell your
That's
story.
amazing. So, what does a successful end in your initiative like mean for you? Some of the things you all are doing. What does a successful end in your initiative mean? To,
End.
End to your initiative.
yeah, like
Like the end
you-
product?
Yeah, end product.
At the end of our organization.
Right.
Really.
Well, I'll just speak to when you say our initiative. I'll just speak to Artist Bonfire. I've kind of alluded to it, but haven't really talked as much about it. So, Artist Bonfire, it's a happening, a gathering, a collective performance. I call it a cipher, but it really is just people gathering around a fire and expressing themselves primarily through poetry, but through a lot of different, art forms and creative expressions. So for me, coming away from that experience is just that people walk away and just feel good.
Mhm.
They feel rejuvenated. They feel like they use their Sunday night in a way that enabled them to feel like they could get into that next week and power through. And so it's really about bringing that energy for me, like just bringing that energy to that event and getting energy from everyone else there, and sharing that. And so, really at the end of it, it's just that we were there, we were present, we were in the moment, and we enjoyed ourselves, we enjoyed each other, we put our phone down maybe for a minute, and yeah, we were just human. Like we just really, took that moment to reconnect with ourselves and with nature, with spirit, and walk away feeling a little more human.
That's beautiful.
For me, at City Open, like Paul might have a different experience, but I think for me, when City Open is a every 2 week meetup where we think about community-based projects and using our, like you said, the skills we just have to create like those visions and those opportunities for community projects to advance. And for me, it's twofold. One, I want the people who come to realize that it's not like a very fancy, you know, training they have to go through to help in design or data or architecture. They can come and they can use their skills and they see how effective that is. And for individuals with ideas for how they want to see their neighborhoods or their, like, coming away and realizing like some way of navigating the structure, talking about design or talking about like, okay, how much is this going to cost, like leaving with something where they can either bring that back to a neighborhood or share that with someone else. So I'm hoping we just bring more capacity building. That's a successful one to me. It's just like everyone leaves with a little bit more like, yeah, I can do this. This is not an impossible project. It's a series of small projects.
It's this idea of like the end is more about the scaffolding, right? So it's how does this end become a beginning for something else, whether it's for an individual that we're working with, whether it's for long-term community, or that's how I really think about it. I mean, the ultimate end of all the work that I do is like when there's equity in the built environment, and that's a never-ending process. But I think when you talk about it as here's these series of small projects, I look at the successful end is that we could start somewhere else or somewhere else moving an initiative forward. So that's how I think about it.
For me, and I work with like different, projects and initiatives, but ultimately is this idea of, I feel like I want everyone to connect with, you know, with their own inner. If you don't find the space where you want to do the work that you want to do, you can't create it. If there's not a table that you want to sit at, like just create your own table. And I feel everyone has that capacity, and every single project that I get to work on is about how to help others to discover that capacity. I want like 10 city opens or 20 or 100. I want all the schools to have like the same energy. And there's only one of me, therefore you need like thousands of people doing similar work. But everyone has that capacity, and I just want everyone to reconnect with their own capacity of transforming the places that they want to work on or to like transform. And it's oftentimes it's just the how. It's not that people don't want to do it. It's like they just need a little bit of like the how. And if I can contribute to more hows, if I can be like just the how person, tell me how to do it. I'm just gonna be
Yeah, I think for me, it's really like being able to just awaken the change agent in other people, and I think that's why it's so important to align our practices with our values. I don't always get it right, but really try hard because I think when people are able to see that you are walking the talk, it motivates them to do it, right? So, like, how many people do you listen to who are just talking about doing something but they ain't never done nothing? Like it's the people who you see moving and shaking who you get inspired by to say, all right, that's the thing that I want to do, or that's the thing that I don't want to do or do more of. So for me, it's really awakening that source, that light source and that fire within you, to be able to go awaken it within somebody else and then align our collective efforts for change.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
it's like self-determination, right? Like
Yeah.
we're all
100%.
capable of that. No,
Yeah.
we were just not like our upbringing not necessarily taught us that.
Socialized to do it. Yep.
Self-reliance.
well, sometimes it comes over time. A
Yeah.
lot of times.
Absolutely.
Um, So let's talk about the 10 principles of Burning Man. All right.
Ooh.
Uh
Ooh.
Oh, fun.
oh. All
We're like
right.
as we are like
So
running out of light.
so
Right,
yeah.
right.
We
Yeah, I
need
was
some
gonna say
fire.
we do need
Fire.
to probably wrap this up.
So the 10 principles of Burning Man are radical inclusion, gifting, decommodification, radical self-reliance,
Yeah.
radical
So cool.
self-expression, communal effort, civic responsibility, leaving no trace, participation, and immediacy. For example, like radical inclusion for Burning Man is that Burning Man really supports the Black Lives Matter movement, even though there are a small number of people of color that go to Burning Man every year. A lot of the burners that I know in Chicago, they support the protests, they participate in the protests, and are very open to forming alliances with people of color and grassroots organizations. So how do these principles, there's 10 principles, you can pick one, choose one, whatever, align with your approach to implementing change and the values held in the futures you imagine? You can pick anyone.
Can you read them all again?
Right, so fast.
There's radical inclusion.
Mhm.
There's gifting. I'm gonna
Mhm.
gift you something. There's
Mhm.
decommodification, taking, like saying, um, the money's not that important.
Mhm.
You know, there's radical self-reliance. Rely on a team to get it done. Bureaucracy is what Burning Man's about. Radical self-expression. I'm gonna be myself. Communal effort. Civic responsibility. Leave no trace. That's like cleaning up the environment.
Mhm.
Participation and immediacy. The now.
Mhm.
I think we talked
You
about
talked a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
we covered it. I
Yeah.
think.
I just wanted to bring those out because
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
yeah,
that's important. No,
yeah.
but I think the one, well, we did talk about radical self, like that, um, that for me would be something to go back to, just connected to, like, how do we make space for ourselves to,
Mhm.
as being leaders, as being
Yeah.
like this energizing, amazing woman, doing a lot of work. How do we, come back to ourselves as someone that is doing this for others, but like reflecting our values and aesthetics and self-expression. I don't know. I feel like that for me it's like a work in progress as well. Because I tend to, I critique a lot architecture because it's a culture of authorship. Like it's my project,
Mm.
it's my idea, and like I want to think like how do this collective efforts become less about authorship and more about like cooperative models.
Mm.
Um, so that's a work in progress for me.
I think for me, radical inclusion resonates because I have done some work with user experience and personas. Personas is where you consider a concept from like different age groups or races, or like if there's again, park design, senior citizen persona, bilingual. So for me, radical inclusion and this work is you're building local power. Some people can't come to every meeting. Some people don't care as much about certain issues. Some people care about this issue a lot. So how do you create platforms and areas of engagement that are online, on telephone, door to door? People can like you have to be very creative about how you collect all the voices. So I really think about that because you know there's so many ways in planning to think about how people are giving their feedback, and so I really try to think about that in my work.
Mm.
I was Paula stole mine, but
Same one.
but yeah, no, I
Building on
relate
that.
to that.
Building on
It's
that
also the theme I feel like has been coming up a lot. Is just not. I mean, I think Glennon's alluded to it as well. Just what happens, the sort of the ripple effects, or the domino effects, whatever you want to call it, when I can be radically myself and express myself, what that does to the room around me, especially when I'm not necessarily perceiving my own power, and I do it anyway, and then someone comes up to me and says like, thank you for saying that or doing that, or you inspire me, or even if I never hear that, I know, or I've learned to know, that is powerful, to just be radically myself and to encourage other people to do that too, because there's a lot of people that I don't like that I have to work with, but it's important for me to sort of accept their radical self-expression as well, and to figure out how to work around it and maneuver and just deal with humans as humans, with all of their shit, just accepting folks as whole people, and figuring out who needs to sort of move out of the way in order to go forward, but at the same time just accepting the wholeness of the human. Has been something that I've been trying to be very mindful of.
Yeah, here, but I definitely think the radical self-reliance and radical self-expression is definitely something I cleave to a lot. And with that, I think a piece that I don't think we've spoke much about is really. I think that in a part, yes, this is all really great work, and none of us would be preferring to do anything else, but it takes a lot. It takes a toll, and I think a big part of that is being able to also prioritize yourself, and that's an act of resistance in and of itself. That is radical in and of itself, self-care. And so I think in order for us to be able to show up and be good in the work and help others light a fire, we have to continue to prioritize ourselves and our reflection, and how we're impacted by the structure and institutions, and how we perpetuate or are complicit in things. And I think that's all a part of that for me. And so I think that is a perpetually a part of the work that I do in the world, is try to take a step back to say, all right, where are you in this, Glennis? Like, where are you in this bubble? Are you adding to the harm? Are you to extract and take away? Like, are you spreading yourself too thin, in which you can't even be a really good contributor to this space? And so I think I wish that we talked about it more, and had more resources. Again, that's something that we have to create for ourselves, but it's so hard to do that if we're barely making the space for ourselves. We're always constantly making the space for other people. So I think that should be a part of that, and that's really a part of the conversation that I try to push, at least starting within myself, and then with other groups that we have. Like, for the network this summer, we had to just start, we could sit there and talk about and plan for the rest of the night, and we at some point we had to be like, all right, 6 o'clock, we gotta go, it's time to go eat, it's time to go eat. Right? Like, and that would be the thing, that would be the thing that would get us out. Like, it wouldn't even be like, oh, we gotta go home to our, no shade to the partners or anything, but it was just like, eat food. We have not eaten in many hours
while feeding others.
Superpowers or hidden gifts that we will see amplified. What is your playa name?
I think Tiff already has a
I already said mine. I said mine at the top. So I'm the pyro poet. I build fires.
Okay. I said mine with Burning Man.
Exactly.
Nice. You're ready to go.
I build fires and I spit fire. So.
Okay, Catherine, what about you?
I don't know. Oh my gosh, this is tough. Even though we had the questions ahead of time. I don't know. Well, since a camp can give it to it, like, maybe we could collectively name each other. We're in a camp right now.
I like that.
Yeah.
This is so funny because Dennis, I don't have one, but Dennis, I'm from this region in Mexico. It's called Chihuahua, and the Ramuris are the native people, and what Ramuri means is light food, not our light food, but like it's like people who run a lot. And for me, light food means like you can fly. It's like an idea of imagination. So this is my nickname at home. So I'm just gonna stick with that one. But it's just weird because we have a mayor that is like But it's pies ligeros.
I don't know if this is right, but I'm gonna call myself the incrementalist. Like, you're gonna make like my little baby steps, but I'm gonna get to the very top. So it's not as like sweet as black. But that's like how I work. The other one I was gonna say was like, I didn't like this because of the pandemic, but I do feel sometimes I'm like the viral urbanist, where like I'm here to like infect the waters with like all of my ideas, and like you will hear them.
I like that.
But I was like, pandemic wise, that's probably bad. But that's actually how I think about myself.
Glennis?
It's a tough one. you know, um, for me, I think it's just a name that I've gone by in general. It's actually my poet name, Energy, like INNERG, but it's also energy, right? So energy. Like I think of it like that because for me, I'm always tapping from a light source that gives me energy, and everything I need is inside of energy, inner goodness, right. And so for me, there would be energy.
I always thought it was like energy, like you were like a hard ass.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Not like G for Glennon's.
Yeah. But it's both, right? It's definitely
yeah.
both, right? Like
Yeah.
this radical part of myself that stands on its own at all times, but it's also oneness, right?
Yeah.
So it's like energy. Energy. I am the light source. I am the one bringing the fire, bringing the energy, right? And I feel I live up to that, right? And my ability to be able to command the energy of a room, any room I walk into, or take the energy with me if I want to. Like, this ain't the room I want to be in. I'm out. Taking this energy with me.
Come on, energy.
We out. Right, come on, energy. We out.
About entry where it's about when you gotta leave it. Everyone's like, there's a void now.
Right.
But now we know what we missed.
But most times you just gotta leave it. Just like I'm just leave it and see what y'all do with this. So that's what I would go with. What I kind of already been sitting with for quite some time.
Yeah. I still don't know. I'm gonna have to crowdsource that when I go next year or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you have to come out.
We'll get you by next year.
When we go in camp and we build a solar
She's
shrine.
gonna bring a boombox with her. She's gonna lug it on a trailer.
We're gonna just put it on a trailer and live out of that.
I love it. Yeah. I gotta get to know you better, but I'll definitely think of something.
Tiff will help us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, this has been amazing. This is awesome. I am so
It's fun.
glad that we did this. It is like a pleasure to, many of you, few I've already known for a number of years, but to meet the rest of you, it's been like great.
What a way to kick off Burning Man.
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing.
And then we're going to have a bonfire performance tonight.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
Let's go do it.
10th
All right.
anniversary.
All
Let's do
right.
it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Paula. Thank you, Glennis. Thank you, Tiff.
Thank you for
Catherine,
having us.
And Ellie. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Antoine.
Thank you, Antoine.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Jose.
So is it Ellie or L?
L.
L. Okay.
That's what Paula wins. I was like, I will accept it right now.
But I don't even believe your words when you speak them. See, your problem is you write with a pencil and a pad, or a computer in your hand with a dictionary, encyclopedia, thesaurus, like a map down a literary path, literally rhyming cat with hat and gat. But that shit's whack. See, me, I write often from my mother's coffin. She's somewhere in the streets playing possum while I'm in this box writing story problems, and my real problem is I don't know how to solve them. Example, 1967, girl 1 is born. 1985, girl 2 is born. Girl 2 is the seed of girl 1. Girl 1 never grows up. Girl 2 never becomes a mom. In 2001, which girl is a woman? My guess is the objective is to answer the question, but it's all way too subjective, see, because I am girl 2 and girl 1 used to be my best friend, but if life was $1 million question, my lifeline's not picking up. And I'm tired of calling, so I just keep writing. Yeah, I write from the belly of her addiction to bad food and alcohol, so when I spit, it's sickening. And I write these scriptures like we still Christian, praying one day she'll believe she's forgiven. And I write from inside the paint at Boise State, where my big brother used to dunk on heads. He should have been a star, but like so many other brothers, he's a convict instead. So I'm all in his head, all in his body. How does a caged beast feel? Like a monster, probably. So I feel like y'all can never stop me. And sometimes I dream verses from my niece's crib. Gentle journeys into the life she might live. I write like there's a fight for a bright future in my pen, and I might just win. If I can convince my baby sister that losers and wins are more than stars and spins, and life is more than boys and friends, or tattoos and trends. See, she convinced, or maybe pretends, that life depends on her light skin. They be hating, so she fights them. Now I'm writing from the back. Now I'm writing from the other side. This black girl's fist, pulling out tracks and shit like, what, bitch? And I never miss. And I never say I write from my heart because I've never literally been there. I never dug a pin inside my chest, punctured my left breast, the muscle that pumps blood, the organ that makes breath. No, I write from places I've actually been. I write smoking a black till the plastic melts. In the bathroom mirror, looking at myself, recycling smoke from mouth to nose to mouth. Back out, remembering back when. See, back then I blacked out what happened, but now whisper shout to be let out. A quiet girl refuses to doubt her own voice or bow down to you boys. See, I don't have a choice. This talent chose me, amateur please. Emerald green from verbal balance chose me, amateur please. Copy, that's your job. See, inspiration begets imitation, but of course your lyrical representations will never capture the magnificence of my imagination. Or most importantly, pass the highest evaluation, which of course depends upon how you respond to confrontation. Amateur please, I write from the front of the bus with Miss Parks refusing to get up. Outnumbered, refusing to give up, I spit shots back at the cops and let off 41 shots at that unarmed male black amateur please. I trace the graves of the enslaved who gave a damn about their names. So when I call my brother nigga, I remember his pain. To be specific, I tag hieroglyphics on the sides of pyramids so I never forget where the beginning is. Amateur please, I got one poem written in 4 different places. Because I've been writing on my Galaxy, my laptop, and like 2 pieces of paper, and I guess that makes 5 if you count my mind. Because I've been meaning to write down this one line. I think it goes something like, amateur please. Release these subjects from this music box that has got us all singing backwards. Amateur, please stop speaking like all the words in your head when they never belonged to you in the first place. Stop pretending this earth is your birthplace. Stop writing like you can finish that sentence whenever you feel like it. And when you don't feel it, amateur, please don't still write it. Amateur, please. You don't even believe you ill yourself. You should find a cause, a suicide bomb, and just go kill yourself. Amateur, please. You don't have the personality to MC. And you damn sure ain't got the personality to beat me. Heard you tell your fans you wish you could be me. Amateur, please. You don't even have the vision to see me. Amateur, please. Go figure out why the last line you wrote was a joke. Why your spoken word poem made you choke. Why your voice came from no deeper than your throat. Why you see yourself as less than Gwendolyn and Langston, less than Saul and Nikki, less than me. When you are not an amateur anymore, you are a star. And you are free. We did, y'all. We here. We here. We made it. Come on, make some noise. Make some noise. We need all the energy. This is a cipher, so even if you didn't come with a poem or if we're not, we are the trees, we are the grass, we are all of this. We are all one. We are connected. Shout out to Mono. But thank you, seriously. My name is Tiff Beatty, also known as the Pyro Poet. And there's some more friends walking up the street, the homies. This is a space for friends and family that just keeps growing. Ashe. Say Ashe if you know Ashe. Okay, if you don't know Ashe, Ashe means I agree, I'm with you, it is true. Whatever you want to say to just sort of give your energy to whatever I'm saying or whoever is up here, that's an African term. It basically means that you're just putting your stamp on it. All right? So feel free to continue to give ashes and praises and claps and snaps and all that, because that's the type of vibe we trying to build here tonight. And even if you didn't plan to share something, please do feel free to be a part of this. Ashe. We've been doing this since 2011. Shout out if you were there at the first Artist Bonfire in 2011. I know at least Jovan was, wherever she at. So yeah, we've been doing this every single summer. Artist Bonfire. We're usually in Promontory Point in Hyde Park on the last Sunday of the month, June through September. So we have one more. We may be back here though, if y'all like this vibe. I actually kind of like this. This is how the park used to feel. It don't really feel like this anymore. So, you know, we're so happy to be here at Overton. And, you know, this is a beautiful space for you all who don't know. Overton is a closed school that has been bought and reimagined and turned into a space for lots of different things around technology and innovation. And, you know, we obviously have a basketball court as well. And so it really is just a community space. So if you live in this area, please feel free to come and hang out. Paula is our beautiful guest tonight who's been burning with us for a while now as well. She's always here working, and she has an architect design studio that works out of this space. And so these tables that you all are sitting on was also a part of an event where architects actually built this space so that we can use it in this exact way. And so we are all sort of doing a lot of work that intersects. There's a lot of beautiful people here that are creative family, and we just want to continue to grow this family. So everyone who is here is invited to participate. Whatever you can offer, feel free. Even if it's just your energy, your snaps, your claps, we really do appreciate it. So thank y'all for being here. I'm also going to transition just a bit because this is kind of a 2-in-1 event. For those of you who came to the Burning Man event, this is also a Burning Man event. For the first ever time, I'm at Burning Man, and make some noise if your first time at Burning Man, because you're here. Yeah. Burning Man, this is a Burn event in Chicago. People have asked me for a long time, have you ever been to Burning Man? I think you would love it. I said no, but that sounds cool. So we just brought it here. And this year, you know, as we know, COVID has caused a lot of issues in terms of having us people who do programming and events to reimagine what coming together looks like. And so this is an example of that. So for virtual Burning Man, we have some folks in this space that had an amazing idea that has come to life, and that we want you all to hear a little bit more about it. And so for that, I'm going to actually ask Antoine to come up. And I did horrible at talking to the mic, so if we want this part on the mic, feel free to use this. Antoine, you can cut all that out of the final production, by the way, if it didn't work.
Hello, guys. How are you all doing? Good. My name is Antoine Lee Tiff. Thank you for inviting me up here and being a part of what we're trying to do. I'm a native of Chicago, grew up on the west side, and love Chicago. I'm an architect. I've done a lot of projects in this area, the south side and other parts of the city. And I had this idea some years ago to start building pop-up art installations in the city and inner city neighborhoods. And I really didn't get so far in that aspect in Chicago, but I went to some Burning Man. I know some people have heard of Burning Man, right? Yeah, so I'm involved in a regional community in Chicago, and so we started making art together. And so we applied for an art grant this year, well, actually last year, 2019, for 2020, and we actually got an art grant. So we were one of 72 groups to receive an art grant, and I was the lead designer architect. The project is called the Solar Shrine. It's based on ancient Egyptian and ancient Nubian cosmology and spiritual beliefs. It's Afrofuturistic. So if you all want to check it out, you can go to solarshrine.org. There's a website. And yeah, so this week because of the COVID-19, the actual physical burn in Black Rock City in the desert has been canceled, and now it's all virtual. So there are virtual platforms. If any of you familiar with AltSpace or some of the other platforms, there's platforms that burners have created. Dusty Multiverse is another one. We'll be on those platforms. We had 25, 26 house music DJs out of Chicago. Some people who would play with Frankie Knuckles, pre-recorded. They'll be streamed directly to the Playa, digital Playa this year. So, and then we also had an event today called Building Local Power, where Tiff was actually on a panel. And I feel really grateful that she was able to grace us with her presence and being a part of that, as well as a few other people. So, yeah, if you have any questions, you want to know anything about the project, we're standing in front of fire right now. Solar Shrine is about Ra is about fire. You know, I'm over there. You know, let me know. Just come out and reach out. Thank you.
And in case y'all were, I don't know why they're using the mic because I can't hear them. This is for the production. So just just in case we look weird holding the mic and it's not actually projecting our voices, that's why. So the filming of this is, as you know, we're kind of alluding to, is going to be actually projected into a virtual world. So if you all want to stay in touch with us, we'll send you that information. And actually, Fran is over here somewhere. Wave your hand. If she knows everything you need to know about how to interact with us in the virtual space. So this will all be a part of that as well. So you all can feel free to, you know, stay engaged over the week, and then probably even more time after that. There will be more Burning Man events going on. So that's that. But back to the cipher. So this is a cipher, as I was mentioning earlier. Your energy, your creative energy is all a part of it. Making s'mores is a part of it. You know, getting creative with how you put your s'mores together. We've had a lot of creativity around that happen over the years. But really just anything that you want to bring, even if you want to just say some affirmations up here and just show love to the people, that is very welcome. But I'm not going to sit up here and call people's names and read a list and give bios and all that. I'm doing as much talking as I'm doing right now as I'm going to do all evening. So I'm really going to kind of be quiet and step back, and I'm going to leave the mic here. And if there's anyone in this space who has something to share, the mic is open from now until we start breaking this thing down. The fire is open. I'm going to keep feeding it wood, but if you love to feed a fire, please feel free to feed the fire. If you brought something that you want to burn, please feel free to, you know, do whatever it is that you need to do to release whatever it is that you came with that you want to burn. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Actually, that's the one more time that I will talk a little bit later, just to talk about the power of burning. And we'll do a little bit of a burning ritual. And we'll invite everyone to so we have pieces of paper that you can write on. We'll talk about that more. But for now, I just want to, you know, maybe feel your energy one more time. If you're still in this place, let me just hear a little something, you know, that so y'all still out here. Let me hear a little something. Okay. We want our neighbors to feel the love and, you know, be like, what's going on over there? We want to go join what's happening over there. So, you know, keep the energy up. Keep loving on each other, and we appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Hey, I like that. Yeah, clapping for people. I like myself too. So a wise man from the South Side of Chicago once said, "Skid it." His name was Chief Keef. If you didn't know, he did. He said, "Skid it." So I need y'all to help me out. Can y'all say that with me? Skid it.
Get it.
Skid it.
Get it.
Skid it.
Get it.
Whew, beautiful, beautiful. It's a simple contraction of let's get it. All right, cool. So we finna do an affirmation right quick, man, just to get us modulating, you know what I'm saying? Get our blood flowing in the same current for a little while. And so with this affirmation, I ain't gonna even make y'all stand up, cause we look so comfortable. But I am gonna make y'all, not necessarily make y'all, but I'm gonna encourage y'all to pull your energy out. If you got some cool on right now, take your cool off. So I see you you doing it right now, Sophia. Taking the cool right off. Take the cool off. Put it on the side right quick. Take your cool off. So this is called an affirmation, something that Tiff was just talking about, but this affirmation that we've been doing on the south side, all around different cities, even in different cities for a while, and it's been just to speak positivity and unity. And so before I do a piece, I want y'all to do this affirmation with me. Follow me with your actions. Follow me with your words. Flow.
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 Ha!
Ha!
A little too early. Ha ha!
Ha!
No. Ha ha!
Ha!
Y'all still doing one. Ha ha!
Ha!
Why I still sound like one? Ha ha!
Ha!
Okay, there you go. Ha ha
Ha! Ha!
ha! Ha ha!
Ha!
On God.
My God.
Hey! Hey! Oh my!
Oh my.
Yup, see, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Somebody got their cool on. Somebody got their cool on. We got a fire, y'all. We are around a bonfire. The coolness is gone. So we clapping, you know what I'm saying? Throw a little clap on there. Put some lotion on your clap. Don't leave it ashy. Put some lotion on there a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Ha!
Ha!
Okay. Ha ha!
Ha! Ha!
All my
All my
brothers and
brothers and
sisters
sisters
must come together
must come together
to free ourselves,
to free ourselves,
to free our hood,
to free our hood,
and to free our world.
and to free our world.
Ha!
Ha!
All my
All my
brothers and
brothers and
sisters new.
sisters new.
No, you gotta put a little Y after the end. Sisters new.
Sisters new.
We'll come together
We'll come together
to free ourselves,
to free ourselves,
to free our hood,
to free our hood,
and to free our world.
and to free our world.
Don't repeat this, but if I'm looking at y'all masks and I'm looking to see they moving too. Ha!
Ha!
Ha ha!
Ha! Ha!
All my
All my
brothers and
brothers and
sisters
sisters
have come together.
have come together.
Look at us.
Look at us.
No, for real, look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us.
We free ourselves.
Free ourselves.
We free Tyler. We free Tyler.
We free Tyler.
We free Tiff Bates. We free ourselves.
We free ourselves.
We free Tiff Bates.
We free today.
We free ourselves.
We free ourselves.
We free our ancestors.
We free our ancestors.
We free ourselves.
We free ourselves.
We free our descendants.
We free our descendants.
If I eat,
I eat,
then you eat.
and you eat.
If I got cookies,
I got cookies,
then you got cookies.
and you got cookies.
I say,
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 I say.
so be it
So be it.
on baby,
On baby,
on kids,
on kids,
on God.
on God.
I say,
I say,
I say,
I say,
I say, I say,
say,
I
I
say. Thank y'all. Woo! Woo! Bow Wow, you next.
love your keys when I said that. Have to get that back.
Oh yeah. So you're just like, can I take your keys?
I'll just have them.
Come back by Tuesday. Yeah, we'll walk home. 3-hour walk.
I'm just gonna go drunk drive.
Do a quick you're just like going crazy in the parking lot. Donuts. Just like stopping really fast. Not even doing anything cool. Just like going crazy and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey y'all. Oh no. Hey y'all.
Hey.
Alright. I love it. I love it. I'm Glennis, aka Energy. You know, tonight I wrote myself I've been processing just all the things that are going on in the world. And for me, instead of just like performing a piece, I wrote a love letter to my future self. And I just wanted to share that love letter with you. And do I need to hold this? It can't hear me. Can I put it here?
Put it down and they'll hear you.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. So before I get to my love letter, for me, I wrote this letter in terms of me thinking about reimagining the world, not just reimagining the world I want to live in, but the contributions that I want to have in that world. And what it would essentially take for me to be able to contribute to building the world that I want to live in. So I just want to hear, you can just yell it back to me. This will be like an open conversation forum. If you were to write a love letter to your future self, what would you say? I love you. Why?
Because I need love.
Because you need love, right?
I need to know it.
Because you need to know it. We don't always feel it. What else?
Thank you
Thank you for what?
for inspiring me to grow old, to get the elder.
Yes. Yes.
Props.
Yeah.
Props to yourself.
Props to yourself.
You say your future self, right?
Yup, your future self, not your past. I know we always think about if you could tell your past self anything, your future self.
That's hard, man.
It is hard.
Growth.
Growth. Say more.
People not you're not gonna be in the same place now that you are, that you will be in the future. So
Right.
As more as time goes on, it's that growth.
Absolutely.
You made it.
You made it. Where?
In the present.
In the present. Because that was hard. It's hard getting through the present now. So the fact that if your future self can make it to that point, that is definitely something to congratulate them for, right?
The only thing that I can think of is don't stop getting it.
Don't stop. Exactly. Exactly. You would tell your future self to yell it out.
Rest.
Rest.
I've worked hard. It's time for her to rest.
Time for her to rest. And I want you to yell it as if you're telling your future self. What else would you tell your future self?
You are enough.
You are enough.
Slow down.
Slow down.
You got this.
You got this. Forgive.
It's not what happens to you, it's how you take it.
Yes. Now what happens to you is how you take it.
I'm doing this for you.
I'm doing this for you. Yes.
Be grateful.
Be grateful. Let's start snapping to that. Yes. Ashe. What else?
Every day you get to be a better you.
Every day you get to be a better you. Ashe. What else?
Every day is a...
What is it?
You're not alone.
You are not alone. Ashe.
Every day is a new day.
Every day is a new day. Ashe. Celebrate life. Ashe. The only way out is truth. Ashe.
Through.
Oh, through and true. You know, that too. What else?
Be kind.
Be kind. Ashe.
You roll.
You roll.
You roll.
You raw. Ashe. Enjoy yourself. Ashe.
Trust.
Trust. Ashe.
Laugh.
Laugh. Ashe. Yeah, let's get to the simple things, right, that we take for granted. What else?
Don't stop listening to Lil Bow Wow.
Don't stop listening to Lil Bow Wow. We're going to Ashe to that, just out of respect. Ashe.
Play.
Play. Ashe.
Breathe.
Share.
Share. Share. Breathe. Ashe. What else? Oh, don't stop now. We just getting cranking up.
Create
Create.
and burn.
And burn. Keep it moving. Ashe. All here. You manifesting, right? You speaking to your future self. This energy is going to flow through. This energy is not just going to be left here. Say it. Respect. Yes, sis.
Positive
Ashe.
energy only.
Positive energy only. Ashe.
Have boundaries.
Have boundaries. Ashe.
Honesty.
Honesty. Ashe.
You're important.
You are important. Ashe.
Stretch.
Stretch. Ashe. Dennis, what you say?
Forgive.
Forgive. Forgive. Ashe. All of that is so important. A lot of times we're always thinking backwards. But if we really want to be present in the moment and show up for where we're going, we have to start thinking and imagining ourselves in the future, beyond this moment. And you can do both, right? Like you have to look into the past. Sankova, our ancestors teach us that we got to look into the past to understand where we are, to know where we're going. But then once we arrive, we're not able to really enjoy and be in that moment. So thank you for that, because I didn't want to be the only person sharing my letter to my future self. I wanted you all to start thinking about what you would share to your future self too. Queen, I don't know what lies ahead, but I do know that you must trust yourself. Trust your heart. Know that the goal that you think you're panning for is encapsulated deep within, and you have the key. And the only minding that needs to be done is the minding of your own business instead of perpetually tending to the needs and mess of others. Oh, what a mess they've made. Let them cry over their own spilled milk and hire someone else to clean their own neglected houses. Your ancestors were diligent domestic laborers, paving a path for you to write your own way. They did that so you wouldn't have to go through that. Trust your mind that even as fragile as it can be, it is stronger than you consciously know it to be. Wielding power with nothing but willpower, through sheer belief that anything is possible. There are enough obstacles that exist outside of your mind. To conquer them, you must remove all barriers that exist within it. Decolonization is a way of life, a perpetual state of being and doing, constant and deliberate. It requires self-accountability first to the culpability of harm, complicit in your willingness to participate in the activities of any institution. Always proceed with caution. Trust your ordered steps, making moves straight from the directives of your soul, tied in knotless braids and inextricably linked to the universe. Trust the values that ground you and character, no matter what stage you're on. Having a versus battle with personality, you will get knocked down and you will dust yourself off and try again, like Ali and Aliyah. Goddess, you are on to something big. I can feel it already. Energetically flowing through our chakras, I can hear it. Whistling it to our core while in nature, in the wind, I'm meditating on it. I'm preparing for it. I'm gathering all the tools I think you'll need, but it will require you to do the rest. Listen and lean into your magic. Your ability to reinvent and reimagine yourself outside of this present moment. Your willingness to not let your past define but shape you in appreciation of Sankofa. Follow your spirit guides. You know, the ancestors who watched over us long before the colonizer's religion was ever given to our people. Teach others how to treat you by demonstrating how well you treat yourself. Treat others how you want to be treated, considered, and handled with care. Dream big. Speak life, queen. Speak life. Manifest. Do you. Reign with freedom and liberation as you have in every lifetime before this one. An architect of liberation. After all, karmically, it is what you've always been destined to be. With love and supreme benevolence. Signed, me. I love you. Love on yourself, y'all. Tell yourself thank you. Tell yourself, I am beautiful. Say it again. I am beautiful. I am resilient. I am strong. I am wonderful. I am enough. From in the past, I was enough. Right now in the present, I am enough. And when I arrive to the future, I will and always will be enough. And that's that piece. I love y'all.
Ashe. Thank you. That was you, fella, right? Ashe. One more time for the folks over here. Ashe.
Ashe.
All right, y'all. We're going to keep this cipher going, but I promised y'all a burning ritual, so we're going to go ahead and make sure we get that in while y'all are still here. So we have some brown pieces of paper that are on a few of the tables around, and there's also some up here, as well as some pens. When you're done with the pens, if you could just put them in this black bag right here, that would be much appreciated. I'll take them back home with me. But the idea is that whatever you write, and I'm going to feed the fire again, so there's plenty of fire to go around. But really, this ritual can be used however you want to use it. I think that we actually had two great, amazing, I should say, facilitators in terms of embracing y'all and engaging y'all in affirmations and in, I would like to say, some Afrofuturistic world building, if we can go there. So we're talking about the future, we're talking about the present, we're talking about our past, we're talking about just throwing the timelines to the side and just being outside of everything and seeing everything from outside of time. We're talking about all kinds of things, right? And so this is magic, but it's also very real. It's dealing with the elements. So we're using our voices, we're using our breath, we're using our bodies to create these transcendent experiences. And the fire is inspirational in that process because the fire has a lot of things that we can gain from it. We can gain heat from it. We gain light, right? We can put things in it that we want to change or transform. If we can set the earth on fire, and it can make the ground more fertile if we want to grow things. Ashe. So there's a lot that goes into this ritual, but it's really about you taking it and making it personal to you. What do you need right now, and what can the fire provide you in this moment? So for some of y'all, you thinking about your ex and you want to stop thinking about your ex, so you want to put your ex name in the fire and burn it. That's cool. That works. But some of y'all thinking about your future selves now. Glennis has inspired you, and you want to write a message to your future self, and you want to make sure it gets there, and you want to use the power of the fire as a portal to talk to your future self. That works too. Okay? So take that as inspiration and take it into your own imagination and think about how you can use the energy of the fire, the power of the fire, the different elements that go into the fire, because we know that fire takes a lot of different things in order to make fire, right? It's not just one thing. So please be inspired by the words, by the energy in the space, of all by the fire, and write something down and contribute to the fire, and we're gonna keep it going like that. Ashe? Ashe. All right, that's your cue. somebody has a song or anything that they want to contribute during this process, that also is invited. But you know, no pressure. We're all just vibing.
Always count on money.
Oh, it's on there. Whatever.
Yes. No, we're good. You can keep it small or keep it big. Sure. Small little
Throw it in there, huh?
Just throw it in there. You can say Ashe if you want to give it that extra.
And then you say what?
Ashe.
Like you
Confirm it.
Yeah.
Confirm it and affirm it.
Throw it in there and say Ashe.
I think there's a stack floating around. Someone handed us that.
Ashe.
There's a lot on that table.
Yeah.
Over there.
Keep to it.
Y'all out of here, bro. Okay. Okay. Ashe. I'm not gonna eat.
How many you are? How's my boy feeling?
He cool. He'll be here tomorrow. That feels really nice. No, right before.
That was only half of it.
Oh, in April? Oh,
No.
okay. Oh.
13. You believe in mine?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so. I believe in the universe.
Okay, no doubt.
Much to it, bro.
People say I don't act like it.
Tell me. I'm 48 you act like. That's young.
They say I stole Tony's gun. I'm still hip hop.
So
Bullshit.
so living your life. You haven't been away from the box. You've been using this to make sure.
Okay.
Oh. Somehow
I
no.
haven't really like looked at anything yet. I feel like in person Wednesday morning I never really looked at stuff. I have 3 in person classes.
You missed that, huh?
My in person is figure painting or figure drawing, advanced figure drawing, figure drawing class that is cartooning the figures, and then a abstract it was really cool. Thank you. You're more fast. It sucks it's online, but it's kind of nice. Just embedded. Just embedded. Love it. Yeah. Protection. Nice. You gonna be working over there?
Protection.
At least maybe trying to volunteer.
A lot of cases.
Bye. Thanks for staying.
I've only met him one time. I met him.
What do we say?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do we say?
You say Ashe.
Yeah, you're so close to the mic.
What is that?
It's African, like West African. Yeah, it just means, amen, same thing. So be it. And you gotta make sure it gets all the way in. Here, actually, there's I think there's a poker. Don't put your hand in it. Yeah, there's this too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'll let you do the honors.
That?
You got it? Oh, you got it.
You have to slow down.
Yeah,
You have
right.
to be patient.
Yeah, I got you. I'm learning. The lessons.
Basically, being in the mirror, she gives me that. It's beautiful.
A card? Oh, a card. Yeah. I'm gonna get you my information. Actually, I can get you right now. And plus, it's on social media. I'm telling you. That's TIFF.
You know how to sing too. On social media. She's a church choir and everything.
I wasn't a steady member of the church choir.
All right, Ashe. So we burned it, right?
Burned it.
All right. Now I don't always do this step, but I'm feeling led to make sure that we're all on the same page about what we just did, okay? Because when you burn something, then you have to be at peace with it, right? Because you reach back in the fire, you're gonna get burnt if you start to regret the process, right? So now we're gonna just do a little 1, 2, 3 peace. So I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, and y'all gonna say peace. And when you're saying peace, just focus on the idea of having peace with whatever you just burnt. Because sometimes it can be scary. Sometimes it can be a little unsettling. You may be feeling like you're missing an arm because that was a pretty big thing that you just burned. But just focus on that word peace and having inner peace with this process, okay? So when I say 1, 2, 3, y'all say peace. 1, 2, 3.
Peace.
1, 2, 3.
Peace.
1, 2, 3.
Peace.
Ashe.
Ashe.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. All right, let's get back to the s'mores, right?
And I say, hey.
What a wonderful
kind of day.
Hey.
You can learn to walk and play. Hey. And get along with each other. Hey. You gotta listen to your heart. Listen to the beat. Listen to the rhythm. Let your eyes open up your ears. Get together and make things better. Now working together. It's a simple message that comes from the heart. Say it again. Believe in yourself. So that's the place to start. And I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day, where you can learn to walk and play, and get along with each other.
I don't know why, but I feel like now, you saying that now, I feel like you just saying out of the box though. Because he got the thing. It's like, so, we'll end it with that.
Yeah, there you go.
Believe in yourself, for that is the place to start. How much you can the true you use so that the true you can be used? much you can the true you use so that the true you can be used?
Yes. Come on. Yes.
How about as much you as the true you use it so the true you can be used? Universe, one stanza to make you stand up. You be the standard. You stand up. Don't sit down. In fact, let's think of some words that begin with you. Unique, for you are one of a kind. Universe, for you and I are one and the same, held together by the fabrics of the universe in our genes. Unit, U-N-I-T, unity, U-N-I-T-Y, not be you, to unite, a U-N-I-O-N, you and I have one. You and I are win. You and I have won. You voila in unison. You are the sun. I am the shine. I am merely a mirrorly reflection of you, and I reflect eternally in your eye. You are I. Utilize. Truth is, I need you to survive. Use you like you pluralize when they don't realize that you is perfect how you are and unified in uniform, uniformed in uterus. God is as we exist. Who am I talking to? You, star. Ubuntu. Like I said on the side of that building over the corner. Ubuntu. I am because you are. So thank you. You. Peace.
Lose control, yeah. Don't wanna lose control, yeah. I'm really about to lose control out of my mind, cause people digging up all the dirt that they can find and putting all the work at the end to find their shit and be up in their feelings alone because of it. You know what they're saying, if it ain't broke, you shouldn't fix. Too many times we realize they like to have the way to control how should we act, how we dress, what do we say, but today we shall be bold and say we'll never ever lose. You know I'm not like everybody, like to sit back in the party, probably wonder why the shawty sitting here alone. In my mind, I'm in the Maserati, know we about to get it poppin'. I'm aware that I can be your yaddy, 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 yo. Had to stay sane in the world is so cynical. Don't do a lot of thinking with the thought that is critical. And staying prayed up is like a spiritual miracle. And surround myself with love is a habitual ritual. I know your views on me don't mean much if you only seen the surface when you should have dug inside. Other work is really what it means to be I. And when you do, you can truly look me in my eyes, cause I came a long way. And I won't be judged and I won't be smudged. At the end of the day, I just wanna be loved. At the end of the day, I just want to be hugged and I will rise above. Look, if you really got something to say, know the repercussions that could be coming your way. What goes around just comes around as a true fact in your work. And know your words be having power to inspire change. Look, if you really got something to say, know the repercussions that could be coming your way. What goes around just comes around as a true fact. And know your words be having power to inspire change. Your words be having power to inspire change. That's my piece.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget the power of spirituals, regardless of what religion you affiliated with, what God you feel like you serve. When we think about our ancestors and burning, I often think about spirituals, the things that brought us together, the hymnals, and it's bringing one to mind as we think about how fluid we have to remain, as fluid and open as water. Maybe we can sing it together. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Sing if you know it. Wade in the water. Don't whisper loud. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble
love to do it at fires, man. So to keep that flowing, y'all know this singing this one too. This a little light of mine.